Hello, everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I'm your co-host, Mike L, and as always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be taking a look at Spidey comics from August of 1989.
That's right, and unfortunately, G.I. Joe Lee could not be with us, but Bex Luthor is here.
Don't worry, guys. I'm here. I know.
Don't fret.
Here I am.
All right, and also a little crossover episode here. We have our co-host of Flea Market Fantasy with us, Mike Dell.
Yes, thank you, Miguel. Always a pleasure to be here.
That's right. Woo! Why don't you
Happy
tell
to have
everybody
you.
what's going on with Flea Market Fantasy lately? What have they been reviewing there?
Yeah, let me update you on all the exciting things over Flea Market Fans. Absolutely nothing.
Oh,
We're doing
crap.
absolutely nothing.
Okay.
And,
no reason to tune in then.
No. Everyone should tune in this month. It's Mike L's favorite month of the year. Shocktober is coming up.
Right.
It's going to be all horror comics.
Yeah, Shocktober.
I mean,
God.
traditionally, we'll pick
it's not all comics featuring Spider-Man's villain Shocker?
Not
it's
even
not the
close.
Shocker. No.
It's like, ghosts, goblins, the two-gun kid, the typical favorites,
Yes,
you know?
Yes, last year Mike L picked a two-gun kid book.
It's because he teamed up with
Shocktober.
Ghost Rider. Anyway, okay.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
like, the only cowboy that I know that's relatively spooky is Jonah Hex, and I wouldn't even call him that spooky.
Right. Definitely not horror spooky.
Yeah, only in the movie was he really spooky.
Right. And I need to remind our listeners, I do own the first Ghost Rider with Nicolas Cage on Blu-ray, if you ever want to watch it. Anyway.
That's
Okay.
You can come right over to Mike's house. He's always, the door's always unlocked if you want to watch Ghost Rider.
Only for Ghost Rider. Okay,
Just one,
so,
not two.
yeah. I've only seen the second one once. I've seen the first one like 12 times. Anyway. Okay, so we usually summarize one comic each. I'll do Spectacular. Josh is probably going to do Web. And
Sure
Becca,
am.
you usually do Amazing, right?
Yeah, that has been the pattern
Tradition.
for the last little bit.
The last 75 weeks. Okay. So, Josh.
So
why
let's
don't
change it up.
Yeah. Josh, why don't you tell everybody what happens in this issue, Wolves on the Night?
Sure. So
hey, it's like Shocktober. We got werewolves in this.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's a pretty spooky
Anorexics.
issue.
Yep.
All right. We got Web of Spider-Man number 53, Wolves in the Night, plus What's the Matter with Christy? Like we don't already know.
Yeah, what is the matter with Christy? That Christy seems like a jerk. What is the matter with Christy? I don't know.
Yeah.
What's going on
I
here?
feel empathy for her because I'm not a psychopath. But let's continue.
Well, I am a psychopath.
Okay, so we've got Spidey through the city. He's got a tip from the Arranger, who he's been working with recently, to try and stop a gang war. Spidey's whole motivation is he's trying to stop the gang war, and the Ranger's whole motivation is I don't want to die, and I don't want my boss to die, so I'm going to team up with Spider-Man secretly. So even Kingpin doesn't know that this, agreement's been going on. But anyways...
Yeah, let me just interrupt there, Josh.
sure.
This Arranger fella,
Yeah.
he worked for the Kingpin.
Yes, he does.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
He's the right-hand man.
He's like an older guy, and he worked for the Kingpin.
Mm-hmm.
And was he in the Netflix series?
Maybe...
Did they have... Because he kind of had, a guy with glasses always
no,
hanging
that was
around.
the owl.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
They
that
call him
was
the owl.
supposed to be
But-
Owlsley. What's his name?
Yeah, Owl. The Owl.
Owl. What's his first name? Something Owlsley. Whatever.
All right,
He's
sorry.
literally named Owl.
It's honestly the Netflix character is closer to the Arranger than the Owl, because the Owl is actually his own supervillain that has
Yeah.
bird powers.
I know the owl guy. That's why I never connected that to being the owl villain.
Yeah,
I thought that was the Arranger
I hadn't either until we started reading, and then I think Mike on the podcast pointed it out, and I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that's who that was.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for the Netflix show they kind of merged the two characters together because the Arranger is a stupid name.
Yes.
Very on the nose.
Yeah. So, anyways, Spidey stops this truck full of ammunition and guns to feed this crime war that's going on. Webs up the bad guys, calls the police. Then he calls the Arranger to be like, "Thanks for the tip. I'm doing this to stop the war." Yada yada yada. But you've got to tell Kingpin what's going on here because I don't want to get caught in the middle of this. So the Arranger's like, oh shit, now I've got to go to Kingpin with tail between my legs and tell him that I've been teaming up with Spider-Man this entire time.
Well, I think the problem was because he had hired the Punisher to kill these Lobo brother guys.
Yeah. So a while back in the comics, the Arranger was supposed to take care of the Lobo brothers and kill them off. And I can't remember if he lied to Kingpin and said that they were gone, or if they didn't realize they didn't kill the Lobo brothers. But I think they actually hypnotized the Punisher. Or tricked him into doing it. I can't remember. It was a little while ago.
Yeah, they hypnotized him.
Yeah.
Made him
It was
evil.
what was that guy's
what's his
name?
name?
The villain that shows up for one issue that they were teasing
because of
for
the
a
P.
year.
The Persuader.
Persuader and the Arranger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So these
Punisher.
Lobo brothers, I had never heard of these Lobo brothers.
Really?
Were they a prominent deal in Spider-Man in this era? Because I had never
Yes,
heard.
for like a year or two.
for about a
yes.
year. Yeah.
All right.
And it's been like hinted at for a while that these Lobo brothers, something weird is going on, and then all of a sudden these werewolves start showing up, and we're like, how are these things? Yeah, it's them.
A Twilight movie breaks off.
Yeah.
all of a sudden. Yeah.
So
Do you know what Lobo is Spanish for?
Monkey.
Oh, right,
That's
yeah.
right.
Nailed it. Nothing gets past you, Mike Dell.
So Pete heads back to the Daily Bugle, starts talking to Joy, and they are talking to J. Jonah Jameson, who they're trying to convince to run the story about the crime war to hopefully get people out of the area and reduce the amount of deaths that are going to happen. And J. Jonah Jameson refuses. And of course, at this time, J. Jonah Jameson is actually secretly Chameleon in disguise. So he refuses, and this is kind of his whole plan, is to not run anything about it, so the war becomes bigger and bigger, and nothing really happens with it. Pete storms off angrily, and then Joy ends up running back into Peter. Oh, this was somebody else, right? Yeah, I can't remember who the first one.
Kate Cushing at the beginning,
right.
and now it's Joy Burkle.
Now it's Joy.
Yeah, that was a little confusing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. So Joy runs into Peter like on his way out, and she confesses that something weird is going on with Gloria Grant, who is in a relationship with one of the Lobo brothers. And so she's kind of been missing. Joy has been spying on Gloria and taking pictures. So they go out for coffee, and she kind of explains what's been going on with Eduardo. And Pete leaves to go figure out what's going on. As he's leaving and walking by a parking garage, his spidey senses are going off. And it's because J. Jonah Jameson, who's secretly Chameleon, gets into a limo with Hammerhead. So we realize now that the two of them have been teaming up. I think maybe we kind of knew this a while back, but it's been a while since I think Hammerhead has shown up. But
I don't think it's been revealed, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think Chameleon did go to him at some point to be like, "Hey, we got to team up if you want to take down a Kingpin or something." I don't remember. It's been a while that they've been like building up to this big new like war that's gonna start happening. So we cut back to Aunt May's house, and we see Christy, and she's full of bruises, and she kind of tries to hide them from Aunt May. She goes into the bathroom, and we see her kind of like thinking about Peter and how she wants to like look good for him, and she thinks she's fat even though she's like extremely skinny and looks like malnourished, as she glances over to the toilet and then locks the bathroom door. Peter heads to Gloria Grant's house, breaks in, and finds a bunch of like clothes all torn up, and he looks through them and finds a receipt for a helicopter hangar rental service. So he knows where the Lobo brothers are going to be now. So he swings over there. He starts swinging over there as we see the Arranger tell Kingpin what's going on, and to prepare for battle because the gang war is going to start up right now. Spidey goes to this hangar, fights a bunch of guys, and just when he's like winning and taking out all these goons, The Lobo Brothers in the werewolf form show up and start fighting Peter. They start kind of like tearing him up. His costume's all torn. They try and make a getaway on the helicopter. Peter quickly webs up the helicopter and starts swinging along with it. And the bad guys start shooting with machine guns out at Spider-Man. He has no other choice but to let go and jump into the Hudson. And the Lobo Brothers get away. Cut back to the Arranger at the end of the issue here, and we see him in his office. As he turns around looking out his like beautiful view from his office, a helicopter starts shining its light and starts approaching. Cut away to Aunt May as she's knocking, like banging on the bathroom door, and we see the most gruesome mangled body of Christy just like lying on the floor as we're supposed to figure out what's going on in Spectacular Spider-Man number 153, which we will talk about later. But that's the end of that issue.
So yeah,
we have a guest artist too, which I guess we can talk about too. We have Mark Bagley showing up. Art's okay.
Who's normally doing the art for this series?
Alex Saviuk.
Oh.
So there's been actually since number 50, I think all 3 issues in a row have been guest artists. We had Frank Springer, Mark Bagley, and it might have been Mark Bagley again. I personally think this art's garbage, and that that did not help the story. I mean, I think the story is actually pretty good by Gerry Conway, but the art was just so bad. I really like.
I don't know, so bad, Michael. I mean, it's all right, but come on.
It's
he
got
has a family.
Moments.
He has a family, Michael. You know, be nice to him, you know.
He's still drawing for Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Yeah, he is, unfortunately.
I get what you're saying. There's definitely like panels that feel a little off, but then there's like small moments that I like really, really liked. Actually, in original page 3, the bottom right panel, we see in like the foreground, the goons are webbed up to the truck with the shipment of guns, and way in the distance in the back, we see Spider-Man is just like sitting on the wall in the back, just kind of like with his like arms on his knees as he's. I thought that shot was great. Everything was really clear as well, like the layouts and storytelling through the panels was like never a mess, I thought. But
yeah, I don't love it. I don't think it's garbage though either. I think it probably is a little boring, maybe. Like it's just kind of bland. Mm-hmm. But there are some good panels in there. But Mike L is really harsh.
I think I could there's maybe like 3 or 4 good panels. Like the bottom of page original 14, the close up of Christie's face on the right, that's pretty good.
The stuff when he's fighting the werewolves there, that's pretty good. Werewolves are jumping on him and whatnot.
It's okay.
I like when a ranger goes into Kingpin's office as well, and he's all in shadow. I thought that was really well rendered, and it builds on the intensity of like the Ranger being completely scared to confront his boss. Yeah, there's some stuff there's some stuff I really like about it, and then there's stuff that's just kind of like whatever.
Right.
I really liked on original page 8, on J. Jonah's desk, there's just a little picture of Spider-Man crossed out.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Just so you know, he still doesn't like Spidey.
I hate Spider-Man, and I have to. I put it everywhere.
But it's not. Yeah, it's not even like a huge picture on the front of his desk. It's like in the bottom right corner of the front of the desk. There's just
it's an
8.5
by 11 printout.
Well, here's this story is actually pretty decent. It's been a nice build up of this little gang war thing, and I actually do like the whole idea of Kingpin having to kind of isolate himself and be protected by layer upon layer of like guards and all that. I think that's pretty cool. So overall, and like the wolves coming in and all that, I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know. And to be honest, I'm not a fan of this whole Christie plot line. So I thought it was actually a good cliffhanger with her being.
Who's Christie, by the way? She's MJ's cousin.
Yes.
She's introduced like a year ago or something.
Yeah. She's like a 13-year-old girl. Like
Yes.
She's very skinny and she has a big crush on Peter Parker.
But what I was confused about was she's clearly bruised from head to toe, and she's wearing shorts and a tank top, and like MJ doesn't say anything about it, and then Aunt May just like after dinner she says in passing, "Oh, I didn't notice. I think you have a bruise on your arm." No, she's covered in bruises, man.
I know, like 2 black eyes, 4 bruises. I know.
How is no one noticing this? What? I don't know. It seemed weird.
Becca, any more thoughts on the story?
Fuck Christy.
Yeah.
Man.
Look, okay.
Yeah, not a fan of the Christy.
You know how I feel about the whole eating disorder subplot. It's just garbage and back to like after school specially, and it really, you're introducing a character and her character trait is that she is in love with Peter Parker and has an eating disorder. Super cool. Great.
And she's 13. Yeah.
Yeah, so cool introduction of a really cool character that I can relate to, definitely, because she has personality. At least when they made Carol Danvers an alcoholic, she had 20 years of character development and then became an alcoholic. So, like, it, meant more.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Hey, I took a lot out of that, okay? That's shaped me into who I am today.
Okay.
An alcoholic.
Yeah, I think I just feel like they're not doing the Christie story well. I don't hate the idea of it. I just feel like it's also just been going on for so long, and they try and play like coy. I mean, like now they're like actually doing the story, right? Like now they're actually showing us that she has a problem, but before they'd be like, "Oh, what's wrong with Chrissy?" It's like, we know what's wrong. You don't have to pretend like, you don't have to. I don't know.
Well, how did she get
this whole like last couple issues? They're like, "Oh, who are the Lobo Brothers? What's wrong with Christy?" It's like they're werewolves. She's anorexic.
Yeah.
I got it.
But why is she so bruised? Was someone beating her up?
No, I think she's just malnourished, so she bruises easily.
All right. Wow.
Or like the colorist didn't really know how to depict a gaunt face, so
It looks like she went 12 rounds with Joe Louis. She was very beat up. Yeah, all right, anyway.
Yeah, I think it's weird that it's like she has like black eyes. Because that makes it look like, but I understand like the arms and like the neck and like cheeks or something like, but it does make her look like she got into, it does kind of look like she got into a fight with the black eyes, but
just a little weird.
Yeah.
Gerry Conway's the writer here, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm not a huge Gerry Conway fan. But yeah, it's okay. Here's what I noticed though, Michael.
What's that?
So from the last time I was here, which was a while back, it seemed like these Spider-Man titles were all distinctive in some way. Like,
yeah.
But now it seems like they're all telling different aspects of the same story. Like they're very unified now. All three titles.
Well, to be fair, Web and
Web and
Spectacular.
So Amazing's kind of still on its own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I feel like now too they're being a little better with continuity with what's going on. Like in Amazing Spider-Man, whenever J. Jonah Jameson shows up, he is still the Chameleon and not actually J. Jonah Jameson, which before would be a problem. They wouldn't communicate with each other and just write whatever story. Now it definitely feels like they're on the same page and all three of these things are happening at the same time. Even if they don't continue into each other, there's consistency in the writing, which is nice.
Yeah, the three titles, even though Amazing's kind of off, just has that one little connecting tissue there. They all seem like kind of aware of each other more than in the past. Do you like that, Michael, or do you like it better when they're like off on their own?
I do definitely like the continuity, but I do agree that in the past they were more distinct. Like each of them had their own distinct style, and now especially Spectacular and Web seem more homogenous.
Yeah. How about you, Becca? What do you think?
At least they're still telling like different sides of same stories.
Yeah.
Like later when we talk about Spectacular, that's the one with Joe Robertson, right?
Yes.
So it's like you're finding out what's going on at that point, and this one's more like the werewolves. I guess the werewolves are in both, but like it's not just they're just not retelling the same thing that's going on. At least it's adding something.
See, I like how in Amazing we get one scene with J. Jonah that hints at it, right? That's the way you do it. You just have like a little tiny crossover, but I like how Spectacular focuses on Joe Robertson and then Webb focuses on Christy and the Lobo Brothers. Well, I guess they both kind of
Christy's
do.
in the other one.
It could
too,
be more distinct, but Yeah,
yeah,
true.
That's a lot of
be-
Kirsty. You know,
I think that's I think that I like that the gang war is crossing over because that storyline is like a huge thing that's happening in Spidey's world. But I would have preferred if Christie stayed in Web and like the gang, like the Hammerhead Tombstone stuff stayed in Spectacular, which it did. But Christie had a little bit of a crossover there, and even last month's. It went from like Web to Spectacular, and then the stinger in Spectacular was figure out what's going to happen with Christie on the next Web, and then this one is connecting Christie back again from Web to Spectacular. So, yeah, I don't hate that they are like that connected, but they could definitely keep the continuity with keeping separate stories at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, I just never knew they actually did this because in the past, it was always like 3 distinct things. So it's like, oh, I was kind of surprised they did this. It had to be quite the chore there for the writers and the editor.
And they kind of go back and forth too. Like when there's something big happening, usually like 1 month, it'll be like part 1, part 2, part 3. But when it's not like anything too major going on, it's like 3 separate stories that are kind of...
Also, I just realized, I think, Conway wrote the Spectacular one, right? So I guess it's easier than if it's just Conway and... Who's the editor? Jim Salicrup?
Jim Salicrup.
All right, so basically he's writing one book, just 2 different...
Yeah, he's just kind of divvying up things. That's actually why it's funny, because Tombstone actually first appeared in Web, and he was first drawn by Alex Saviuk, but now all the Tombstone stuff is in Spectacular, right? So it's just kind of like whatever. It just works out that way. But anyway, we've been talking about Web for a long time. We still got 2 more comic books to talk about. So let's talk about whether we recommend this comic. I mean, it's not a great issue, but it's still pretty decent, so I recommend it. Josh?
Yeah, I think if you're reading this arc, it's a must-read, but it's a fine issue. I would... I'd recommend it.
Okay. Bex Luthor.
Bex left. Yeah.
Oh, did she?
She had enough
she just left.
Mike,
she had enough of Christie.
Oh.
Like, get out of here.
There we go.
Okay, Bex Luthor.
Don't know what happened. My tab just closed.
Oh, so we have to summarize the issue again. So it starts off with Spidey swinging over the city. No, just kidding. What did you think of this issue? Like, overall, you recommend it?
Yeah, sure. I really like the Lobo Brothers. I'm enjoying them a lot more than some previous B-grade Spider-Man villains. I just have to point out, too, before we move on, just how dumb Peter is. Just like, remember like last time the chameleon showed up and his spider sense went off? And he's like, why
I was
my
gonna
spider
bring that
sense
up,
going off? That guy's the chameleon! And now he has no freaking clue.
Yeah, he's
that
in that
was so
office with
funny.
J. Jonah, and that's actually the chameleon. His spider sense isn't doing anything. It's like nothing.
His spider sense keeps going off around Jonah. He's like, that's so weird. Yeah, Peter, it is weird.
That's in the Spectacular
Maybe think
issue,
about it.
though.
Yeah, I think in this one, in the office, like,
last time
he doesn't even register at all. Like, that he's standing right next to him, and or does he?
No, when he walks
he does.
in,
It
says
says
tingling.
tingling. He's like,
Yeah,
my
tingling
spider
the way
I
it
thought-
always does when I'm around Jonah these days. I wish I knew why. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Peter.
I thought you guys were
Why?
referencing when they're like with each other in the warehouse in Spectacular. So I got okay.
No. But like previously, like a few comics ago, when the chameleon first came back, Peter recognized him right away.
Yeah,
Immediately, he was like, "That guy looks like that guy, but he's not that guy. Must be the chameleon." And like everybody's telling Peter, "Be like, Jonah acted weird." He's like, "Yeah,
that's fine.
so."
I need
He's a
to
weird
ignore
guy.
it to make the plot work. Please.
It's so fresh. His spider sense is just so inconsistent, and I get it. Like it's just the plot device sense, but like at least make it consistent in the last like 10 issues or so.
Yeah, exactly. Figure it out. I love Spidey, but his spider sense is my least favorite thing because it's never really quite been defined. You know, like it is defined, but then it's violated right away. So, but anyway,
Yeah, sure. Read it if you want. I don't care.
okay, good. There you go. Mike Dell, do you recommend it?
Yeah, it's what it is. It's nothing great. I want to go out of my way to read it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, now we're going to move on to Amazing Spider-Man number 318 by David Michelinie and Todd McFarlane.
Hey, Mike, I actually own this one.
Oh yeah, cool. I used to own it, but I sold it. Yeah.
I feel like that you say that about all of the comic books we read.
That's true. It's not a coincidence. Anyway, okay, Becca.
Sorry, 1 second. I'm getting a Fortnite ad.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Did you know you could be Obi-Wan Kenobi in
Pretty
Fortnite?
cool.
Not sponsored.
Yeah, I bought this one off the stands. Oh, sorry, I was just gonna waste time. Go ahead. Anyway.
Oh, okay. No, I got it. I'm good. Yeah, so we got a sick cover with Scorpion. Scorpion is back. And he's deadlier than ever, apparently. So we start off with Scorpion trying out his new suit. Is this the first time we've seen this specific Scorpion suit?
Believe so. I mean, it looks really similar to other ones, but we're led to believe it's a new one.
Yeah,
yes. This is his new tail.
Yeah. He's got a little thorn there on the tail, little stinger on the tail. Yeah.
Yeah, because something these late 80s, early 90s Spider-Man villains all do is they all become much more powered based on what their names are. So now Scorpion isn't just looking like a scorpion. He has full scorpion powers, just like how Chameleon can now transform, when before it was just makeup. Which I like, and I don't think Micah likes.
Not really. No, not a fan.
So we start off with him, and he's testing out his new abilities. He's got mace tail, sure, and acid melt tail. All right. And it turns out that he got this new suit from our boy Justin Hammer, making an appearance in Spider-Man, because why not? And he got this. He gave him this upgrade because he's supposed to kidnap some military guy.
Yeah, some general or something. General Musgrave.
Musgrave, sure. I was like, am I supposed to know this guy? But I don't think so. So I don't read Iron Man enough to know what's going on there. So it turns out that Hammer gave him the technologies. Like, even if he doesn't succeed, oh well, just a test drive, see if he can actually do it. And then we skip over to what Peter and Mary Jane are doing, and they're looking for apartments, and they're only being shown shitty apartments. And then Peter goes off to Spider-Manning. He can he's trying to take pictures for the Bugle, and he's only getting petty thefts and nothing very interesting going on. And Jonah's not interested in buying any of it. So Joy's like, maybe you could ask him if he's got any jobs for you. And he's like, hey, Jonah, you got any jobs for me? And immediately says no. So that's cool. Then, of course, we get the little scene where Jonah puts on his fun tapes, and it's obvious he's the chameleon. So I love that he's locks himself in his office to turn back into the chameleon.
Yeah.
To watch the movie. He can't watch it through Jonah's eyes. That'd just ruin it.
Maybe it takes a lot of effort to become, someone else. I don't know.
Probably, but maybe he just wants to watch the movie by himself. We go back over to what Mary Jane's doing, and she's still trying to get modeling jobs. And I don't think at this point we've figured out why she's not getting them. We know she doesn't have any money because it's tied up in the lawsuit with the guy who kidnapped her and evicted them from their apartment.
Yeah, I don't think they've fully revealed it's him. They've hinted at it, though, as far as I know.
So Mary Jane's not getting any modeling jobs, even though she's the world-famous biggest supermodel in the world. So out of frustration, she goes dancing by herself and does not tell her husband, which, you don't need your husband's permission to do anything, but maybe give him a heads up. Because, he knows that there's lots of bad guys, and you not coming home till 3 a.m. is concerning. But she does come home at 3 a.m. and Peter's already at home. And of course we get just the best panel in this comic, because Todd McFarlane has to draw Mary Jane in lingerie at least once per issue if she's going to be in it.
This is true. I knew you'd take note of that, but anyway.
How am I not supposed to take note of it? You can almost see her
or
nipples.
not in lingerie at all. I mean.
Yeah, she's topless there. I was like, this is pretty risque. Anyway.
Yeah.
They have a little bit of a tussle because Mary Jane's pissed she can't get work, and Peter's like, well, at least Mike Dell's gone. He also accidentally closed
It's okay,
his tab.
keep reading. Oh, I was going to say, we'll do it without him. Oh, forget it, he's back.
I'm back. It's having audio issues with the Skype. Everything is coming across garbled, but everything's fine now.
But yeah, so they're having an argument. Mary Jane's mad because she can't get any work, and Peter's like, "Well, at least I have a job." And it's like, okay,
What a jerk.
one, you don't. You're a freelance photographer and a part-time student, and two, she's trying, bruh.
Yeah.
Anyway, we quickly go over to what Harry Osborn's been doing because everyone's curious, obviously. And he's gonna be the next Goblin. Just so don't forget, guys. One page later, irrelevant. Yeah, so Peter goes back to school, to class, and there's a protest going on, or like about to go on. So Peter's on campus and he sees that these kids are gonna protest in front of where the military guy is supposed to be. So he's like, well, maybe I can get a story out of that and get some pictures. So he goes over there to go get some pictures of the event that's going on. Meanwhile, Scorpion's also suiting up to go over there because the guy he needs to kidnap is over there. They both have very different ways of interacting. So Scorpion's also sneaking in and he uses his new tail to make a guy think he's a dog, like a scorpion does. So Peter's taking pictures and he's got his telescopic lens and he realizes that Lance Bannon's also there taking pictures and they're going to be much better than his pictures. So Jonah's going to obviously buy them. But of course the Scorpion shows up. So Peter's like, oh, this guy. And because Spider-Man showed up to the Scorpion, it really pisses the Scorpion off. And they fight a little bit, but then the Scorpion grabs the general, and Peter's got to hold over some rubble so it doesn't fall on a bunch of people. But of course, Scorpion changes his mind. He's like, you know what? Spider-Man pissed me off. I'm just going to kill this guy. Unless...
he wants J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, right. Because he hates him. Because he turned him into the Scorpion. Don't forget that important fact that J. Jonah cursed this man to be stuck in the Scorpion suit.
It's a cool little backstory, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's that one. What's gonna happen next? Do you think this guy's gonna die? Maybe.
Yeah, he says you have 1 hour to. He'll trade the general for J. Jonah Jameson.
So
but in 1 hour, someone's gonna die. So.
I must say, very weak cliffhanger because I don't care about this guy. I don't know who he is, right?
Yeah.
If it was like Gloria Grant or Joe Robertson or whoever, but who is this guy? He's nobody. So very weak.
Like Lance Bannon's there. Make it Lance.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
somebody. But so this issue, I mean, this is kind of the formula for Amazing. They reintroduce a classic villain. They upgrade his powers. Spider-Man fights him, and then he'll probably defeat him very easily next issue. I don't remember exactly how it ends, but yeah, the story is pretty typical. It's okay. It's entertaining. We'll talk about the story first, but Josh, what do you think about the story?
I thought it was a little weak, this issue. Like, especially compared to a lot of the other issues introducing previous villains. I thought that this one was kind of whatever.
Right.
Introducing Justin Hammer to, like, upgrade people, I think is a really fun idea. I hope that they kind of bring him back if they're going to, like, keep giving Spidey villains new tech. That could be a really fun idea, and then eventually bring in Iron Man to kind of have, like, a team-up issue and Amazing. But everything else, yeah, I thought was kind of just whatever. Scorpion doesn't really feel like he has anything to do, like, especially since the climax is just the two of them punching each other and then grabbing this guy we've never heard of, like you guys said before. Yeah, it's a little strange. Maybe, or like maybe reintroduce Scorpion when J. Jonah Jameson is back after Chameleon lets him go eventually. Because then we can have him actually be the target or something. So there's like stakes and a reason for the Scorpion to even be involved.
Right.
But yeah, it was fine. There's some great moments in like the art, which again we'll talk about after.
Oh yeah,
but,
for sure. There's a lot to talk about here.
But yeah, I thought the issue itself was maybe the weakest of the three this week, which is surprising because it's Amazing is normally pretty solid. So
right. All right, Becca, what'd you think?
Yeah, I was excited to see the Scorpion back, but it was kind of a big letdown almost.
Right.
I love just how wild his powers are now. It's just tail just can do whatever it wants. That's fun. The Peter and Mary Jane stuff was good, but really everything else kind of meh. Yeah, I don't know. It felt like they just wanted to get Spider-Man and Scorpion to fight, and there is some really cool art with the fight, but it's very anticlimactic. Like, I don't care about this guy.
Right.
Like, I don't care that Justin Hammer wants him. I don't care that he might die. It's meh. Shout out to Harry Osborn, though. Good cameo.
Mm-hmm.
It's always a good day when you get to see those waves in his hair.
Mike Dell, let's talk about the story first. What'd you think of this one?
Well, I'm just concerned about their marriage. It doesn't seem like it's going to end well.
Legit concerns.
Well,
yeah,
I'm very worried.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like seeing the Scorpion again. His, like Becca was saying, his tail is just crazy now. It can like stretch and shoot lasers and everything. I was like, all right, whatever. It's fine. Yeah, the book was okay, but let's talk about the art.
Yeah,
because
that's really what this issue's about.
Is this the first time you've reviewed McFarlane on the show?
No, the last time I think was the first time, and we had this big discussion about it. But I feel the same that drawing Spider-Man, it's awesome.
Right.
And when he's drawing anything but Spider-Man in his Spider-Man outfit, the art is painful to look at. I just hate it. It is the anatomy is garbage. The faces are goofy. There's way too many unnecessary lines everywhere, just littering the page. I cannot. When I was a kid, I loved McFarlane. Now, as an old man, when I go and look at it, I cannot stand it. I hate this art. I just don't like it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, there's always a lot to talk about with McFarlane, but like even if like you just flip through, like the splash page is good.
Yeah.
You know,
he has a good energy. You know, you feel like the energy's there, but man, it just is not pleasant to look at.
Well, here's the thing. It's also inconsistent, but like in this issue, I actually think this opening scene with Scorpion's really good. Like,
when he's fine.
When he's holding the hand and he's like growling at it with that face, and then he puts
but
the
that
tail...
face is ridiculous. You know.
Well, it's really exaggerated, but it's still well drawn. It's just cartoony, you know.
Yeah, I guess.
It's just exaggerated.
If you like.
And then like the spike going through the dummy head, that's great. Like the shot of Justin Hammer, the close up of the hand.
It's terrible.
I think all this stuff. No, I think all this stuff is good. What's wrong with Justin
You have
Hammer?
to really like his cartoony anatomy.
It's exaggerated. But here's the thing, though. When he gets bad is when he pulls the camera back and you see like shots of people just standing there. It's like he doesn't know how to draw people just standing. Well, you know, it's like he knows how to draw action or extreme close-ups, but when it's just a guy standing there, it like even if you jump over to page or whatever, digital page 7, like the guy showing the apartment, that's okay, but then Mary Jane and Peter, those shots at the bottom are all pretty bad.
Yeah, I like the scene where both Peter and Mac are like getting ready for battle at the same time. We see Pete. Yeah, that's great. We see Pete go up to the tree, finds a tree and jumps into it at the same time as Mac is like parking the truck, going into the back and like putting on his suit. The two of them like pulling their masks down onto their face at the same time is really great. And then the next one, they're both jumping into action. So I really love a lot of that stuff. Spider-Man looks fantastic. This next
that is very
page
good.
After that with Spidey holding the camera and then
the
panel behind the close-up of him with the camera and then we
that
see
is very good.
in
now,
the lens
next page. Right,
the officer that he's there to protect
that's pretty good.
is so
but then the bottom,
great.
The Spider-Man kicking him in the lower back.
I love this page so much.
Mm-hmm.
That is look at that anatomy. It's just terrible. God.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. That's pretty,
yeah.
I like him jumping
bad.
over the tail there in the middle on the next page.
That's true. I'll give you
that.
Yeah,
McFarlane, again, when he's drawing Spider-Man in his outfit,
pages
it's
are
great.
a little bit rushed.
But when he's drawing normal humans standing and talking stuff, it just looks terrible. And there's so many needless lines. It drives me nuts. Well, was he always inking his own stuff?
Yeah,
he
can
inked
do
this
action,
as well, right?
like really well and like motion, but he's not good at just regular people doing regular things. That's for sure.
Oh, I don't know, man. This is rough.
Yeah, no, but early in his career, other people
I
were
guess,
inking him, but I do think he is better when he
not
inks
a fan.
himself. And
Not a fan.
see, I don't mind the extra lines because to me, it's just like that's his style. More is more, you know?
Yeah.
The thing too is that one of the things about inking is spotting blacks and shadows, and he has almost no shadows unless he's cutting corners. He's all about the texture, which I think, that's fine, whatever. He just chooses to draw that way. So I don't besmirch him for that. But yes, sometimes his anatomy's rushed, sometimes he cuts corners.
But
Becca,
yeah, but even that one shot of Mary Jane in like the laundry, it looks terrible.
I mean,
like all flat and everything. I don't know, because it's anatomy again.
Sexy lady, he can.
The shot of her
When he
dancing
doesn't,
looked nice in
he does
the
not.
club there. She looked good there. But yeah, I just hate the way he draws humans. It just doesn't work. Yes, like, and just the facial proportions are just so off.
Yeah, the Peter walking on campus is on his tippy toes for some reason.
Yes,
very jarring.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and that skinny panel where he tried to put both of his eyes in the panel still.
That's a problem because then the eyes just get too close together. It looks ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like, don't do a skinny panel, Todd.
Yeah, you're right.
He's kind of making the Scorpion tail like what he did with
stuff is
Spider-Man's
good.
webbing, right?
And
just crazy and going
I
everywhere.
like the Scorpion fight. I love the really long tail. I like how that is interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Or like any cape he draws.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but this time it's just one little line. So, I think it's cool. At least it was like fun.
Yeah,
to
like
look
as much
at
as I
when
don't
there's
like
action.
a lot of the stuff he did
here.
here,
A guy standing.
it is more interesting than like
which
Mark
unfortunately
Bagley in the
in
previous
storytelling
issue.
happens
like
quite a bit.
That art was just boring. This is at least interesting but flawed. So I don't know, whatever.
100%. Yep.
Yes. But hey, wait till we get to the next one though. My pal Sal. We see my pal Sal.
See, there's no such thing as perfect comic book art. There's something you like and not like about all of it, right?
Hey, also one other thing about the cover, Michael. There's a little thing, the non-mutant superhero. So.
Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, that was just because like the X-Men were
boring.
so popular. They were trying to say, "Hey, here's a non-mutant superhero." Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for a few months now.
There's a
Exactly.
cover.
Right. There's anything to get mutant on the cover. Right?
I don't know what that means.
Did we find all of the cover spiders? I think there's three.
There's three.
No.
I see the one.
Oh, so there's three.
So every issue of
I
Amazing
see one
on the
right
cover, he
below
draws
Scorpion's
a certain
right
number of
fist.
spiders, and he puts the number of spiders in his
see
signature little banner thing. So there's three.
Got
So
the two. Yeah, and then
oh yeah, I see that. Yeah.
to the right of
And then
Spidey's foot.
Yeah, there's one in the red brick there.
Which foot?
outlined.
His
Both feet.
Oh.
There's two. There's one on next to both feet.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh yeah, I see that one. And
I
I
had no idea that was a gimmick.
Cool.
Nice.
We always have to take a little bit of time in this audio-only podcast.
Is he still doing the
Look
Felix the
closely at
Cat drawing?
Conway's
Yeah,
design.
in
Felix the Cat
silence.
in this book?
I mean,
You can Google it.
people are reading along as we review this, aren't they?
Yeah, because I didn't notice it this issue.
Maybe.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Actually,
Let me look.
I don't remember seeing it this issue, but he is. Yes. Yeah. Let me scan through.
I don't know. Everyone start doing their recommendations, and I'll look.
Yeah.
So I recommend this one. It's not a masterpiece, but it's fun. Josh?
I feel like this one you could take it or leave it.
Whoa.
The story's just not there for me, and the art, I feel like you can find way better McFarlane art.
Yeah, I hate
in
looking at
any
Todd
other
McFarlane's
amazing
art.
issue. Nothing
Yeah.
really stood out in this one to be like, yeah, you've got
I
to.
hate it. I despise
right.
it as an old man.
Like
I just
Del?
hate doing it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hate.
Bex Luthor.
I can't find the cat, but also this one has titties, so 10 out of 10.
Oh man.
Look, okay, my opinion on the
They were drawn
objectification
a
of
little
women
better.
changes.
Maybe I'd give it a higher rating. But yeah,
I'm
I don't
bisexual
know.
like that.
Right.
Sometimes I'm like, not okay, and sometimes I'm like, boobs. So
that is true. This is a step up of
hey, it's the
of
90s. We'll take
Liefeld.
what we can get. Some of us only had Liefeld drawings to grow up on, okay? And it gave us
Yeah, that's true.
a complex because our spines didn't do that as little girls.
Okay, on that note, we're going to jump to the Spectacular Spider-Man 153, featuring the
Okay.
continuing story of Joe Robertson. So we got a split cover here, Tombstone versus the Bruiser, Hammerhead versus the Webhead.
Clearly
two
they're having
bone-crushing
sex,
battles in
right?
one Titanic issue. We open up with Bruiser,
It's
who is
Robertson.
Joe's special friend. We won't talk about what that means, but anyway. Maybe. I wonder who the bottom is. But anyway, so
Don't use words that aren't yours.
Joe Robertson is punching a punching bag and training with Bruiser. And then in the background we see that Tombstone is like watching with all of his buddies, right? And then he's like, tonight after lights out, we do the big guy tonight. So Bruiser thinks that he's kind of, safe, but it looks like he's not going to be. So meanwhile, we cut over to Spidey, and apparently he just got out of the East River, which he was in minutes ago in Web of Spider-Man number 53. He's swinging over the city, and he gets ambushed by a bunch of guys with guns. And I love this shot of him punching the one guy, and like Sal Buscema knows how to draw some ugly faces. Like, look at that guy's face. Like the tooth is like flying out. It's great. It's a great shot. But and by the way, these guys are kind of dressed like 30s gangsters. They kind of have like one of them has a bow tie, right? And they have like kind of
Yeah.
Do they have Tommy guns? No, maybe not. I just imagine. Oh yeah, one of them does.
And
Yeah.
you know why?
Oh,
You know that,
what?
Michael?
I think
Because he actually
that's
says
Hammerhead's
that
theme.
in this issue.
Hammerhead
He actually
learned to be a
actually
gangster by
says it.
watching films. So
Yeah,
I think
I
that's like
Right.
it's kind of
Yes,
like the
yes,
old
it
Batman
is.
show where they all have
Gerry
like
Conway.
motifs, Yes.
Get ready.
Which is kind of
Uh,
terrible writing. Yeah. Terrible. Yeah, come on. We don't diss Gerry Conway on this podcast. But anyway.
Just everybody
Just Mark
else.
Bagley, I
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So meanwhile, Spidey's swinging around trying to get
Mike,
away
he
from
doesn't
these
even just say
guys,
that. Doesn't
and
he say,
then,
like, what's the
sure
publisher
enough,
of
who
the
comes
Daily
to
Bugle
rescue him
doing
but
here?
J. Jonah Jameson. He's like, hey,
It's like, come
Spider-Man, in
on.
here, hurry.
What are we doing?
And he's like, J. Jonah Jameson, what's he doing here? So then he swings in
Terrible.
and Yeah, yes. No time to wonder. I need shelter fast. So then, it turns out this is a setup, and Hammerhead's in on it, right? And he's like, okay, boys, quit it. He's in. So this is all part of the plan, right? So then we cut over to Mary Jane Watson, and here's some more great dialogue. She runs home and she sees a body being, like a person being loaded into an ambulance. And then she's like, "Oh my gosh, an ambulance!"
I like the
someone on
couple
a
panels
stretcher.
before that
What if
where
it's-
she's walking
what
home.
if it's
Usually
Peter's
my
aunt?
aerobics
She's always
class
been so
helps me
sickly.
relax.
No,
But talking with my
there she
girl
is
pal
with the other
Regina
tenants.
tonight
Then who?
really depressed
Peter?
me. Because that's how someone thinks in their,
Yeah,
in
not-
their mind. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and their inner monologue. So then she looks down and she sees, oh look, it's the continuation from
13. She had a heart attack.
Webb. Christy
Good
is
Lord.
in the stretcher, and she's got like blood coming from her mouth, and this is kind of sad. We found out she had a mild heart attack.
Yeah, they're coming out of the shower,
13.
and
Yeah,
Bruiser's like,
sad.
"Hey, thinking about your wife again,
So
eh,
then we cut
Joe?"
over to
Yeah, I know.
Bruiser
I know
and his
that look.
special friend, Joe
Like I
Robertson,
told you before,
coming
Joe,
out of the shower.
a guy wants to survive in the
Scantily
slam. A guy
clad.
has to forget his outside woman.
Yeah. There's some
God.
subtext going on here, folks. Where's Michelle Siegel when you need her? Anyway,
Yeah, but
So anyway,
they like
that's an
shoot
inside
darts
joke
or
from,
something.
like,
But still,
13 years ago. But
how do you
anyway.
get dart guns
So
in
they
prison?
get attacked by these guys who somehow these are not regular guns. I don't know. Is there someone?
This is
Yeah, it's like wooden darts, but I don't know how they'd get dart guns in prison. But
They're
they shoot
shank
Bruce.
guns that they made out of bedposts.
yeah.
But how do they project things? But anyway.
Yeah,
So they
little
shoot
pencils.
Bruiser in like the kind of shoulder and like the chest, and then they hide in solitary confinement to get away from the guys. But then
Look, they're still shooting the darts at the closed door.
Tombstone sends one of the guys.
But there's
to go get a
the
key
door,
from a
the window is
friendly
barred.
trustee, right?
So why don't you just walk
a lot
up
of
to the
guards are
barred
in
window
on
and
it
shoot
with,
between the bars?
Tombstone and his buddies.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, wasting darts. Well, they're not very smart, right? But. So then we cut over to J. Jonah Jameson in this warehouse with Spidey, and they're kind of going back and forth, and then they get shot at by Hammerhead's guys. Hammerhead's guys come in, and and Spider-Man has pointed out that his spider sense is going off, and he doesn't know why, right? He's mentioned that a couple times. So then he's fighting these guys, webbing them up, and then we see this really cool sequence where in the background, kind of J. Jonah Jameson pulls out this little case and opens it up, and there's a syringe inside. And then he's like, Spider-Man's like, there it goes again, spider sense tingling, but why? And then we cut over to Hammerhead, who's outside, and then he's like, Spider-Man, he actually, I don't know how he knows this, but he knows that Spider-Man has a sixth sense. So then he's like, that's where my partner comes in. He's got a plan. He's talking about the chameleon. We cut back to inside, and Spider-Man's punching these guys. And then Spidey's spider sense goes off again, and he looks over. He's like, what? It's you. And it's J. Jonah Jameson. He's like, another false alarm. But then all of a sudden, J. Jonah Jameson pulls out the syringe, and he pokes it into Spidey's arm. And Spider-Man starts to lose consciousness, and then he collapses on the ground. Then we cut back over to Joe Robertson and Bruiser pulls out one of the wooden darts. And then they decide, he gives him this big speech about how to be a man and all
that's
that.
Tombstone saying
and then
they
decide to open up the door, and because they get the key, and then they come in, and it's like, okay, big boy, let's party. And it's not what you think. Yeah, Tombstone says to Bruiser, okay, big boy, let's party. So then we cut over, and now Hammerhead is fighting Spider-Man, and Spider-Man has been drugged, as we know, and Hammerhead's beating the crap out of Spidey. Then we cut back over to Joe Robertson watching Tombstone fight Bruiser, and Bruiser gets one good punch in, but then Tombstone comes back, kicks him, punches him, and then we're cutting back and forth now between the two fights, Hammerhead and Spider-Man, and Joe Robertson and Bruiser, and like Hammerhead's kicking the crap out of Spidey, and Tombstone's kicking the crap out of Bruiser, and then this is kind of sad. Then we cut back over to Spider-Man. He punches Hammerhead, and he ends up defeating Hammerhead, but then, he collapses. Then we cut back over to Tombstone beating the crap out of Bruiser. And actually, I gotta say, this is actually a good scene, because he's giving this big speech, and he's like, he's like whispering to Bruiser. He's like, why don't you beg, Bruiser boy? Maybe it's because you know something Robbie doesn't want to know. You know you're gonna die no matter what you say, but you want to die a man. So good for you, Bruce. You got your wish. And then Robbie says, is he? And I love this. He's like, what, dead? Oh, yeah. Tell him we had a little talk, Robbie boy, just you and me, man to man. It's like, the death of this character. And we don't even see his face. It's like off panel. That's really cool. I like that. So then we cut back over, and now the guards are coming. The alarm is going off. So they take off, and they leave Joe Robertson with Bruiser. And then we cut over to Spider-Man, who's gotten away from Hammerhead, but he's all drugged up. And this is a really awkward cliffhanger, because then he looks back over at the Fisk Tower, and we hear like guns, going off, and we see like flashes, and he's like, oh no, gunfire, turning up Kingpin Tower, the war started, great, just great. Now I've really got a headache. Oh, so it's kind of like, if this was like if this was a song, this would be like a bad discordant chord to end on. It's a really weird ending to an otherwise fairly good story. So we'll just talk about the story first. Again, I thought it was pretty good, but the ending kind of left me flat. Josh, what'd you think?
Yeah, I was really enjoying this story. The writing at times, I think Mike Dell was saying was a little clunky, but I did enjoy the story the most out of this one. The dialogue, again, is a little weird at times, but I love the parallel between Spidey and Robbie's story, and it both leading to this like climactic fight at the end, and then it's kind of successful for one but not for the other. And even Spider-Man, like, he does defeat Hammerhead technically, but still like gets knocked out, and because he wasn't able to like completely stop this gang, the gang war is still going on. So, or maybe this was even a distraction, I'm not quite sure yet. Like, maybe the Hammerhead fight was just a distraction so the Lobo brothers can attack Kingpin. But even with his win, he's now like feeling sick and has to continue fighting. So it's like win-lose for Spider-Man. Right. So yeah, there's some great stuff. The art is fantastic. Like you were pointing out, Mike, that last confrontation with Bruiser and Tombstone is fantastic. It's so well drawn, so well told. I love Tombstone's dialogue in that scene. There's some really fun stuff in this issue, and I liked it.
Lex Luthor?
I didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
No. Well, here's the thing.
Why?
Sucks.
What about it don't you like?
Oh yeah, that's true.
I don't like Joe Robertson or this Tombstone story. I hate it.
But why?
So I never liked it, and I never will. I think the whole thing is stupid. I think Joe Robertson having to spend 3 years in jail for not saying something about Tombstone's murder and then being placed in the same jail is dumb.
But if it hasn't that happened in real life? I think it has.
I'm sure.
Lots of things that happen in real life are also stupid. I don't really care about Bruiser at all. Like, I think it's supposed to teach Joe Robertson.
They should have hugged and talked it out.
Honestly, I think like these two are not good role models for what a man should be. So like, cool speech and all, but also like, I cannot take Hammerhead seriously.
Oh, ever. Really?
Especially since I am one of the 4 people in the world to see the Spider-Man musical. Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. Hammerhead features in there. And every time I see Hammerhead now, I think of that stupid song.
Yeah.
It's not good. Don't look it up. I like the 2 fight scenes going on at the same time. And I like Spider-Man like getting the final blow with the Hammerhead fight. But it's
I think it can, right?
I'm not gonna say it's bad. I'm just gonna say it's not for me. Yeah. Except the Christie stuff. The Christie stuff is bad. But I don't think being bulimic gives you a heart attack.
I was a big fan of this.
No, it can't. That's how Karen Carpenter died.
Style. This is easily my favorite of the 3 issues. But my pal Sal.
Anyway, I still hate it. Everything else is
Mike L. The last time I was on, he drew one of the issues, and I was just blown away at the evolution of Sal Buscema from the 1970s to here, because I think we mentioned last time how it seems like he was definitely influenced by Klaus Janson, and his line work and it's so clean.
Yes.
Compare this to McFarlane and just how clean everything is, and I love it so much better. So I like the big story going on here. We talked about the internal monologues, and some of the dialogue is just terrible, just Conway nonsense. But the big picture story was well done, and the Tombstone stuff at the end I enjoyed. I really like this. This was entertaining to me. Oh, easily in my book, yeah.
And you think it's the best of the 3? I'll agree with that.
The ending was a little weird. It seemed like they shoehorned.
I think
you just see that last panel, like, oh my god, the tower, the guns. Now I really have
now looking back.
Would it have been better if they just ended with Bruiser dead? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like That's what I mean. Imagine, like the last page is just a giant shot of Bruiser laying there dead, and that's the end. Like that would have been a climatic ending. You don't need all this other crap, right?
Or even have Spidey knock out Hammerhead in the last page, and as he's like laying on the ground like half dead, he kind of says like, "You fool! This was this wasn't this was kind of the plan. I was just supposed to be a distraction or something like that."
Something
so
like
that way,
that.
it kind of like dawns on him like, "Oh shit! I was in the wrong place. I should have been over here to stop the war."
Yep, exactly.
Like you thought you were by defeating me, you were gonna stop the war from happening, but by doing so, you actually allowed it to. Something,
Yep.
But,
I agree.
Yeah, a little
I just love the line work and how
But
clean everything
overall,
is.
I guess
like,
that's
the
it.
shot
I
I'm
mean,
looking
unless
right now,
is there
the
anything
Hammerhead charging
you want
at
to talk
Spider-Man
about
after
our
Spider-Man's
pals
drugged
art,
up.
Mike Dell.
And we got to point out the dialogue again, but I'm a self-made man, wall crawler, studying old-time gangster movies. I made myself one of the top mob men in New York. Yeah, but still, look at that shot of him charging there, and it's good stuff. Yeah.
That's bad.
Do you know exactly when the change happened in his style? Like,
yeah, like like his line work is great. His storytelling is great. Like, that is a great question, and this is something I did. This is a rare time where I did my own detective work. Okay, so I might have talked about this on the air before, but I'll give you 3 facts. Sal Buscema was drawing New Mutants, and then Sal Buscema was fired by Ann Nocenti. He was fired, yes, to be replaced by Bill Sienkiewicz, okay? So that is a fact. Years later, maybe a couple years later, Sal Buscema changes his style. Like, this is literally, we'll say a year later. He comes back, I think it was when he did Baldur the Brave. He introduced this style. And I always thought it was because he was influenced by Walt Simonson because he was doing like a Thor fill-in, right? And then years later, someone interviewed him and they said, "So why did you end up changing your style?" He's like, "Oh, I was influenced by Bill Sienkiewicz." And like, really? So not only was he influenced by Bill Sienkiewicz, he was influenced by the guy that he was replaced by. So maybe that's why he was, he's like, "Oh shit, I better start adapting to the way the kids draw these days." And so that's why he completely altered his style. But I think it was for the better, though. He actually kind of changed a little bit again. When J.M. DeMatteis took over Spectacular, his art got even better, in my opinion. He started experimenting more with like panel layout and experimental storytelling, and his anatomy got better. So if you ever get a chance to read that,
in the 70s, we on Flea Market Fantasy, we always encounter
maybe
stuff.
170 around
We're
there.
always reading his stuff,
James
and it's always fine. There's good,
really
but it's always
good
kind of like a
run.
watered
It goes up
down
to
version
maybe
of
200
John
or beyond.
Buscema. Like, but now it's like his own distinctive. He's tremendous. I love this. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I agree.
Be back next week when it's all Christie.
So there
all
you
3
go.
issues about Christie.
Another great month of Spidey comics, right, Becca?
Sure. Maybe say that.
Yeah.
No. Sure.
So are you rooting
Why
for her to
not?
live or die, Becca?
Well, I don't want her to die. I just think it's not a well-written story of a girl with bulimia.
Okay, fine.
And I don't think it's it's interesting that Mary Jane is a model, and she's in the modeling industry, and her niece has bulimia, but so far, nothing's been, interesting about that dynamic at all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Hey,
we'll
thank
see
you
how
for having me back.
Maybe the conclusion
Always.
of this will turn my mind around, but I somehow doubt it.
I'm betting it will. Anyway, okay. We want to thank Mike Dell for joining us. Thank you, Mike Dell. All right.
What?
And for those interested, be sure to join us next week because
Wait, you
we
do
will be
cartoons too
reviewing,
on here?
3 episodes of the cartoon, The Return of the Lizard, The Return of the Prowler.
But why do you?
And
how
the
do you?
Wedding.
Yeah, how what series are you watching? Like what?
Yeah, why are you interested in appearing on a future episode? Of course.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, if I had my way, we'd be doing Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, but then
you'd have no Amazing Friends.
That's true.
But certain other people prefer the 90s cartoons, so that's what we're doing.
It's because
do they adapt
most of the 90s cartoon is heavily influenced by a lot of the stuff we're reading right now.
Yeah, they're very similar.
They do adapt a lot of these stories.
I don't even remember the 90s Spider-Man. What was that?
No.
Because that'd be dumb.
Because they improve. They take the stories in the comics and they improve on them.
Okay.
Oh.
All right, then I guess I do remember it. I don't know who the actor was, but yeah, I don't know. Ed Asner, Lou Grant. Wow, I love Ed Asner. Okay.
Yeah, and Mark Hamill is Hobgoblin. We have Ed Asner as JJ.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, he's great.
Where do you watch these?
At JJ. He's like perfect for the role.
Disney Plus. All right.
But I would recommend going and checking out if you're interested.
Maybe I'll watch them when I'm not watching She-Hulk.
They're all on Disney Plus. Yeah.
Pretty much all the Spider-Man cartoons are on Disney Plus.
Yeah. There you go.
I'll just have to watch She-Hulk 3 or 4 times just to make up for the fact that you're not watching it.
Okay, on that note, Josh, you can take it from here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Please keep in touch. You can find us at the Comic Book Syndicate on Facebook and Twitter. You can also check us out at thecomicbooksyndicate.com. You can find our podcast and all of our other podcasts anywhere you can find a podcast. That's Spotify, Apple Podcast. How many times can I say podcast now? YouTube. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about the issues we're talking about and the podcast themselves. Let's keep that comics conversation going.
That's right. And until next Monday, Spider Friends.
All right.
Go for it.